I am really delighted to welcome all of you to the Distinguished Service Award ceremony and panel. I want to thank you for coming. This is an incredibly special program, and thank you also for those of you who are joining us online. It is wonderful to have you with us, even though you can't be with us in person. Those of you who have joined us in the past will notice that this is slightly different than the way that we used to do the Distinguished Service Awards. We used to go over to the union for lunch. But a couple of years ago, we started incorporating the awards presentation into our first year professionalism class because it helps to, well, there's two reasons really. One is that it allows us to highlight the incredible and important work of our alumni. We all know that we learn best from watching the modeling of others. Anthropologists work on this idea of mimesis, right? We mimic what we see and what we want to emulate. And so it's a great opportunity to put in front of you incredible models that we hope you will pull examples from and think of as models to emulate. So we're really excited for that part of it. And then, obviously we want for you to really think about what service can look like in your careers. You will all go off to have amazing careers and they will be busy. And those really, the days can feel very, very packed. And I assure you that all four of our recipients today have very packed days, and they continue to find ways and many ways to serve their very many communities. So we're really looking forward to the session today. So I'll begin the program today with the awards presentations, and then we'll transition to the panel discussion with our recipients who will focus on how networking and professionalism have influenced their paths. And at the end of the hour, I'll give you some general instructions about how to move to the lunch and networking sessions that'll take place right after this program. So be sure to listen for those instructions. So let's move on to the presentation of the awards. It is such a privilege and a pleasure to get to recognize this year's Distinguished Service Awards recipients: Javier Becerra, Chantry Irving, Laura Waldo, and Mark Wright. The Distinguished Service Award was established in 1997 to honor graduates of this law school who have distinguished themselves in service to their communities and to the law school in ways far exceeding that is typically required of our traditional business and professional and civic duties. This award is especially meaningful and timely to all of us at the law school because of the importance that we place on instilling public service in our students. Each student commits to an aspirational goal of 60 hours of pro bono service during their 3 years of law school. In a typical year, that means that our students contribute more than 24,000 hours of community service, which is amazing. And you cannot imagine how much better our community is as a result of that service. So it's really gratifying, indeed, to recognize alumni who set such a great example for our students as they enter the legal profession. Our past recipients have come from all over the world and have worked on all areas in the legal profession. The common theme among them, of course, is service. And that service is bestowed to the law school, to their communities, and we are indebted to our alumni for all of their types of service. Before we recognize this year's recipients, I'd like for the past recipients who might be in the room to raise their hands. Do we have any? Oh, we do. Thank you so much. Can you raise your hands up higher? Raise them way up high so everybody can see you. Raise them way up high. Excellent. Thank you. We are incredibly both proud to call you our alums and also really happy to have you back. It's great to have you. Before we recognize this year's recipients, I'd like for the, we already did that. So sorry. For all you to raise your hands. Okay, so our first recipient today is Javier Becerra. Javier, will you please come and join me? So Javier is our recipient of the Young Alumni Distinguished Service Award. This award is given every year to an alum who has distinguished themselves early in their careers. Javier has certainly done that. He is a 2017 graduate of this law school, and he is senior corporate counsel at Global Payments, a Fortune 500 fintech company. During law school, Javier distinguishes himself as a leader by serving as managing editor of the Indiana Law Journal, the Journal on Law and Social Equality, as well as playing leadership roles in multiple student organizations while he was here. Boy, I remember when you were here, and it felt like you were everywhere. He was so present, and it is wonderful. And I'm not at all surprised to see you standing at this podium right now. So more recently, Javier was recognized in the Latino Leaders Magazine Winter Edition 2020 as a top Latino lawyer to keep a watch on, and was recognized in Atlanta Magazine's top 500 most powerful leaders in Atlanta, both in 2021 and in 2022. Most recently, he was awarded the Outstanding Recent Alumni Award by his undergraduate alma mater, the Georgia College and State University. Javier is an active member of his community and professional organization, and the list of his service is long, and I'm only going to give you some of it. But all of our alums who we're recognizing today have significant lists of the ways that they serve their communities. And I think it's just so impressive to actually hear the excerpt from that list. So I'm delighted to get to read it. He has been a board member for the board of directors for the Georgia Hispanic Bar Association, both as former vice president in 2018 and as president from 2019 to 2021. He's the president of the Atlanta Echelon Young Professionals chapter. He's a member of the national board of the Echelon Leadership Council. He's a past national director of expansion of Lambda Sigma Epsilon Latino Fraternity, Inc. He's the past chair of the Corporate Counsel Committee and a member at large representative for the Young Lawyers Division of the Georgia State Bar. Javier also serves the law school community well as a member of the Young Alumni Steering Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Javier has set a great example for how to manage the practice of law with community service and service to the law school. Javier, it is my pleasure to recognize you for this, for your outstanding dedication to your community and to the law school. And also, it is my pleasure to you with the service award.
Gonna bring me to tears. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with y'all today. I'll try to be short because I know we have a panel. And I don't want to repeat a lot of the stuff that I'll say, but Mauer is an amazing place to be at. My time here was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I met lifelong friends here, and really kind of started getting into giving back and really giving back to the Latino community. While I was here, I was on LASA and was able to LLSA. I'm sorry, was able to really take a leadership role in there and start realizing what myself as a Latino law student, future Latino lawyer could do for the community, and specifically here in Indiana, the migrant community. And I sought out the pro bono immigration project here at Mauer. And got involved with that and really started just getting the passion for serving others. And, what I'll tell you this as attorney, I think as attorneys, it's an obligation for us to give back to others as a profession. We're very blessed to be in the positions that we are and to have the knowledge that we have. And, we should use that for the greater good of society and our local communities. I'm at loss of words to be here. Honestly, this is an extreme honor for me to be here with you today. And Choa, thank you so much and the committee and everyone that worked with me and got me here today. This is unbelievable, and words are lost right now for me because I don't do it for these things. I do it because it brings me passion to give back to others. I'm a Cuban refugee, and people in my life who have dedicated time to me when I was lost in high school, didn't know what I was going to do with my life, mentored me. You never know how you can impact someone's life by just spending a mere moment with them, a conversation. So I encourage you all, give back to the community, go out there, serve your local boards. You don't know what will come from that, the relationships that you'll build. It's changed my life. You know, when I went to Georgia, I didn't have a job. Like some of you may be in the future thinking, what am I going to do? And I got involved immediately with the Georgia Hispanic Bar Association, sought out local attorneys and, you know, just build relationships with them, started giving back to the community. And the things that came from there came organically, and it's changed my life completely. So again, it's your duty as future lawyers to give back to your community. And I encourage you to do that. And I hope that you'll be able to serve them like I have. So thank you so much.
I have to just make one last remark about Javier and actually many of our Latino students over the years that I've been here. You've inspired me, and you have made this feel more like home to me, and I'm really grateful for that. Okay, Chantry Irving. Chantry, would you please join me at the podium? This is Chantry Irving, everyone.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
I guess we got a picture of that. So I'm sure we'll see that one again somewhere. That was amazing. Okay, well, I thank you for turning this into a party. That's exactly what this should be. It should be an incredibly great party. So thank you. I just got to meet Chantry right before this event started, and so I feel like we've just gotten to know each other a little bit better. Okay, so Chantry Irving is a 2003 graduate and is a clinical associate professor of business law at Purdue University Northwest, where he focuses his teaching on business law, litigation, ethics, justice, and the courts. Since 2017, Chantry has also worked as a public defender. At the Lake County Juvenile Center, representing children's interests. He's a single and adoptive parent who has opened his heart to over 60 children. This past summer, in recognition of his incredible service to the state of Indiana, Chantry received the Sagamore of the Wabash Award from Governor Holcomb. That's a very high honor. Chantry is committed to serving IU and the law school, and we are really grateful. He serves on the Balsa Alumni Advisory Board and most recently was recognized by the IU Alumni Association with the Volunteer Leadership Award. He's also received an IU Bicentennial Medal in 2019, also a very impressive award. Additional awards that Chantry has received include a Community Service Award from the Indiana State Bar Association, the Dr. Charlie Nelms Alumni Award from Indiana University in 2010, the Outstanding Young Lawyer Award from the Indiana State Bar Association in 2010, the Honorable Viola J. Taliaferro Award from the Indiana State Bar Association in 2008, the President's Volunteer Service Award and President's Call to Service Award in 2008, the Outstanding Young Lawyer, Defense Trial Council of Indiana Award in 2007, the Up and Coming Lawyer from the Indiana Lawyer in 2007, the Star Senior Award from Indiana University in 1996. From 2012 to 2021, also he served as a commissioner for the Indiana Commission for CLE for the Supreme Court as a Supreme Court appointee, where he served as chair from 2020 to 2021. He's also an active member of the Lake County, Indiana State, and Kimbrough Bar Associations, and previously has served as president there. Chantry, my goodness, thank you for your tireless commitment to the state of Indiana, to Indiana University, and to our law school. I am honored to recognize you today with the Distinguished Service Award.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am indeed honored and humbled to stand before you today. Born and raised in Gary, Indiana. I'm a son of steelworkers. That's where my background comes from in Northwest Indiana. But I will tell you, just like anything that I've had to do with the law school and things before, I've had a lot of challenges and obstacles I've had to overcome. Just 15 days ago, my father passed, and I just buried and had his funeral this week, but I did not want to miss this opportunity to be here with you. Just like many of you, I receive a lot of support from family, friends, and mentors, and that's helped make a difference in my life. Some of those people are here with me today. I'd like to recognize Laura Whitaker. We went to undergrad and grad law school here. I have Vicki Gayfield. We were together in undergrad. She's standing right there with her phone. All right, Charmaine Barnes, she's in the second row. She's my ride or die with me everywhere I go. I appreciate her as well. And I have another friend, Dawn Whitehead. She should be here as well, and Tim Stockton. I don't know if I can see them here because it's so many people. How you doing, Tim? Tim always looked out for me as an undergrad. Thanks for being here. When I first came to Indiana University, and I did essentially 3 stints here because I got my undergrad here, my law degree here, my master's in criminal justice, I was an 18-year-old kid with big dreams and a smile. Having said that, during my freshman year on this campus, I was involved in a situation where trash was thrown on me while I was taking a shower. For any student, first generation college student, when you come to a campus, you want to be accepted for who you are. And having a situation like that definitely was discouraging to me. And at that point, I wanted to leave Indiana University. But I had people around me who encouraged me to stay. From that point forward, I started becoming a diversity advocate, and I would be very active with our Black Student Union on campus. I did not want any students to experience some of those things that I had experienced before, and it helped make a difference. From graduating from college, I was fortunate to work in the governor's office for a year, and that deferred my admission to the IU Law School. It was not Mauer at that time. I was fortunate to begin, starting school in Mauer, and I really had a great experience here. But just like anything else, there was another obstacle that came my way. During my first year of law school, when many of you guys will be taking exams, my grandfather died of cancer. During my second year of law school, my mom got diagnosed with cancer and was going through treatment. And I remember my classmates saying, didn't he just go through this last year? But they were all encouraging me to stay and finish the course. As some of you'll start to take the bar exam. During that time, I was walking on campus. I was a supervisor in my residence hall, and someone said that I was breaking into cars. At that time, I was not breaking into cars. It was around the time the IU was playing an NCAA championship. I had an IU sweatshirt, like I got my IU tie, big IU guy, IU cap, red IU pants, and red and white shoes. But someone said I was breaking into cars. The police threw me down on the ground, handcuffed me, and threw me in a squad car. I was devastated. I was supposed to take my bar exam essentially 2 months later, and I did not pass. When I called my mom and told her I did, she thought I was joking. She's like, "Oh, Trey, you're so funny. Like, I know you were able to succeed." And I was like, "No, Ma, I wasn't. Like, I did not make it happen." She kept telling me, "I know you did." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." So I took the exam again a few months later in February. During that time, I was thinking, what if I don't pass? Everybody's expecting me to do well. But I did have friends and colleagues who consistently encouraged me and said, "Chantry, you can do this. Like, stay encouraged." At one point, I don't know if it was day 1 or day 2 of the exam, I called my mom and I said, "Ma, if you give me the okay to quit, I will stop." And I'm gonna ask you, because I'm a professor, if I called my mom and asked her, "Can I quit?" what would she say? No. She said no. And she had my aunt with me on the phone. And she said, "Don't you know that God will bless you for the work and the hard work you've done? Like, you'll be blessed. So go back in there and finish that exam." So of course, we had to wait a period of time, and I did see my name, essentially on the roll of attorney. So for that, I was very proud back in late 2003. During that time, when I saw my name, I started crying, and I was crying tears of joy. And then I called my mom, and my mom said, "Trey," because that's my nickname. She said, "Trey, why are you crying?" I said, "Mom, I'm crying because I passed the bar, and now I'm gonna pick on you." And what did my mom start doing? You were exactly right. I started crying as well. At that time, who did she call? Who did my mom call? Who in my family? She probably should have called my dad. I didn't call my dad. So, She did call her mom. She called my grandmother. And my grandmother said to my mom, she said, Renee, why are you crying? I'm crying because Trey passed. And that's all she said. So who did my grandmother have? Yeah, and I had gone, I was seeing that IU just finishing up at Mao. She was literally about to have a heart attack herself. She was like, I can't believe something's happened to Trey. Please tell me what happened. My mom said to her mom, Mom, what's wrong with you? She said, I just can't believe Trey is gone. Like we were. But it turned out that I wasn't gone, and she found out that I had just passed the test. And she said they should never use the term pass. Why couldn't they say successfully completed the examination to become a lawyer? All right. I did not plan on returning to Northwest Indiana. My plan was to be in Indianapolis. I love the city, being in the capital of the state. I got to play tennis there. I had great friends and colleagues there. But my grandmother had gotten diagnosed with what? Cancer. And so my family asked me to come home and stay with her. Well, for the past 19 years, I haven't left. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed in 2013. During the time that I lived with her, my mom wanted to take foster parent classes, and she asked me to take classes with her. I said, I'm only going to take classes because at the time I was a prosecuting attorney, it would help me with my cases dealing with abuse and neglect of kids. I was like, because I'm not going to be taking care of any kids, but I can learn what I need to do. Because of course we have a clinic here that works with children. And I had colleagues who did that and they asked me to do it. And I said, no, I'm not doing anything with kids. I will do community legal clinic versus a child clinic. I had no idea that I would be working with kids and adopting kids and fostering kids at the time. But at that time, I was only going to take the classes to spend time with my mom too. The person who taught the class was actually a caseworker. And she said, I know a young man who can take on one child. And I said, I can take on the 8-year-old. They said, well, he has a brother. Can you take him too? I said, well, it's an 8 and 6-year-old. We want to help keep them together. Yeah, I'll take both of them. Well, they have a 5-year-old. We want to keep the boys together. I said, well, I grew up with 4 other brothers in my house. I know how that is. Yes, I'll do that. Well, they have a sister too, who's 2. I said, I can't do a baby. I got to change diapers and everything else. I can't do that. Well, my mom said, I will give you the help. We will not tell your grandmother initially, and I'll help you, with the kids. And so the kids were only supposed to be with me for a few months. That was in 2006, and I ended up adopting them in 2015. So I ended up taking care of them for 9 years, and they're still essentially under my care today, although they are adults. That was not my intention. During that time, I encouraged my mom became a foster parent, my aunt became a foster parent, my grandmother became a foster parent when I ended up buying a home literally around the block from my grandmother. So we all stayed within a block of each other so we can all help each other with our children. At the end of the day, service is indeed very important. I was fortunate to work with the Black Law Student Association when I was here on campus. And like I said, the Black Student Union as an undergraduate, but I don't see if you are succeeding successfully, how you cannot help bring others along the way. Many people know that in the community where I come from, there's a lot of have-nots as a whole. And I feel like I have a responsibility to do what I can to make a difference. Having said that, you see, I don't have any hair on the top of my head. I have grayed early, but I really feel good about doing what I can to make a difference. When it came to adopting and fostering children, my family was very divided about the role that I should take. My grandmother even told me, Trey, you don't have to do this because you would be sacrificing your life to help, children and families. And I told my grandmother at the time, because I knew she would have my support, that I could not look myself in the mirror if I felt like I didn't do what I could to help make a difference. So I try to devote my life to doing the best I can to help make a difference in the lives of others. I want to say how much I appreciate being a recipient of this award. It means a great deal to me. I would say not so long ago, but it was a long time ago that I sat in your seat. But I'm very fortunate and honored to receive it, and I will hold it very dear to my heart and my community. Thank you so much.
Chantry, there's so much there to thank you for. Just thank you. Okay. Well, and I'm really, really delighted that we'll get to hear more from both Chantry and Javier during the panel. So I'm going to move right along to recognizing Laura Waldo, who is not able to join us today, unfortunately, for unforeseen circumstances. She just recently had to cancel her her being here with us in person. Laura is a 2009 graduate of this law school and is a shareholder at Lowndes, Drozduk, Dosder, Cantor and Reed in Orlando, Florida, where she focuses on commercial real estate. In addition to her busy legal practice, Laura is an active member with a number of community organizations, including serving on the board of directors for the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce, the City of Winter Park Planning and Zoning Board. She's a guardian ad litem for the Legal Aid Society and president and member of the board of trustees for the Alban Polisek Museum and Sculpture Garden. Laura has also received many honors and awards, including the Best Lawyers in America Award in 2022 and 23, in 23. Orlando Business Journal for 40 under 40 class of 2021. She was recognized as a Florida Rising Star from 2016 to 2019 by the Florida Super Lawyers. She was recognized as a Florida Legal Elite Up and Comer 2017 by Florida Trend Magazine. By Young Lawyer, she received a Young Lawyer Pro Bono Award of Excellence in fall 2013, a Governor's Fellow Award from the Governor of the State of Indiana for 2004 and 2005. She was recognized with the 9th Judicial Circuit Pro Bono Merit Award. She was named Winter Park Magazine Person to Watch, and she was recognized by the Crew Orlando Distinguished Leader Award. Laura possesses a really amazing enthusiasm for the law school, and she is an active and engaged member of the alumni board and has been for the last 9 years. We're incredibly thankful to Laura for her exceptional contributions and service to the law school and to our students. And it is an honor to be able to present to her the Maurer School of Law Distinguished Service Award. And I could only wish that we could do that in person. Let's give her a round of applause. Finally, Mark Wright. Mark Wright also, due to a last-minute family emergency, is not able to join us today, sadly. I look forward to you all being able to meet both Laura and Mark. They are wonderful alums to this law school. Mark is a 1989 graduate and is a partner at Bakery Drinkle, Biddle and Reith in Indianapolis, where he's been involved with such numerous high-profile projects in downtown Indianapolis as the MS Broadcasting corporate headquarters, the Lucas Oil Stadium, Bankers Life Field House, the Conrad Hilton Tower, and the JW Marriott Convention Center Hotel. These are really important structures in Indianapolis, and he's been involved with all of them. Mark received the Charles L. Whistler Pro Bono Award from Faegre Baker Daniels in 2009 and is part of the Indianapolis Bar Association, Indiana State Bar Association, and the Bigelow Brand Advisory Board for Pancreatic Cancer Research at the Indiana University School of Medicine. Mark has received a number of honors as well, including the Best Lawyers Award for Real Estate Law in 2021 to 2023, Chambers USA for Indiana and Real Estate in 2022. Martindale Hubbell bestowed the top-ranked lawyer award in real estate peer review. It was a peer review rating, which is really impressive, as AV preeminent. That was really an incredible award. Mark has also been a tremendous resource for the law school and has served as a firm solicitor, a class agent, and admissions recruiter. He served for the last 10 years on the alumni board, and he has completed all levels of leadership, including being the past president. Mark, we also thank you for your amazing commitment to the law school. I'm looking at the camera here, and your commitment to our students and for your outstanding leadership on the alumni board. I am honored, truly, to recognize you with the Distinguished Service Award. Thank you so much. And I really wish you could hear from Laura and Mark. I know that their insights would be truly valuable. And that said, Chantry, Javier, Laura, and Mark, we are honored to recognize all four of you for the example that you've set for your communities, for the law school, for all of our students. And let's give them one more round of applause, and we will move back on. Okay, so now I would love to ask Javier and Chantry to join us up in the top there for the panel. Get a full turkey. You do the amazing things you do and.
I'm gonna just try to trick you.
So before we get started, while we're getting technology set up, I just have to thank all the students who are here. I know that you were asked to set of questions to our panelists. And those questions were really excellent. And the questions that I'm going to ask to the panelists were inspired by sort of an amalgam of the questions that you put together in anticipation of having this panel today. So I hope that you will see yourself reflected in the questions, because they're very much, we really read them all, tried to group them, and the questions that I'm directing to our panelists really come from you. So, okay, that said, let's talk about giving back. Let's talk about giving back. You're being recognized for your distinguished service, how you have served your communities, how you have given back to your various communities, school, nation, state, etc. And so can you describe how service has been an important part of your professional career and how it's helped your success?
You want to go first?
No, I can let you.
Let's start with
Okay. Yeah.
I would say first and foremost, outside of my dad serving in the military, he had served in stints in Vietnam and Korea. His father actually served as well, my grandfather, but he actually died during his service. So I'm 2 generations of military people serving our country. So that's something that I grew up with, something that was very important. I think as well, I live in a community of a family that believes in giving back and helping make a difference. That's just how we live and what we do. And so I've been fortunate and blessed to work with organizations and volunteer with people who believe in making a difference and giving back. So I don't think it's so much about me as it is the circles and the people that I'm around. And one person that I see in the back is Professor Jerdigan. I know he was one of my professors when I was here, but he was a great support to me. If we can give a hand to Professor Jerdigan. I was in one of the very early ICLEO classes as well. And so when you have organizations and people like that who speak to you, who tell you you're going to be able to do great things, and it's important to give back, I just try to do what I can to support that as a whole.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Which is when you reflect on how your service has actually contributed back to your career. In other words, how does this virtuous circle? When you give, and you also your career has benefited as a result in various ways, because of what you learn or because of the networks that you make.
Well, I think there's many parts to that, because I spent 9 years at State Farm, and we all know their model, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And so I'm working with a company, or as soon as I State Farm wasn't there, but no, they were there. And so having said that, when you work with a company that has that mission and vision, you were just a part of that, and you're part of that team. And so they expect that of you. They expect you to give back. So I've always gotten support from the managers that I worked with in terms of being out in the community and trying to do those things. The other thing is our bar associations, our state bar, our minority bar, our national bar, the American Bar Association. They put a great emphasis on attorneys giving back. And I think the biggest thing is to give back in the way that is most natural to you. Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's heart. And so you have to be able to give in a way that is natural to you. And so for me, I just try to give in a way that it's Chantry's way, because I can't give the way Javier can or the way someone else can, but to stay connected with people. And so it's made a great difference, because you're able to work with people, you're able to network and able to connect. And I know every opportunity I've had as a whole, it's been from someone like letting me know something or giving me like an inside, scoop or idea, and it's helped make a difference.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say a lot of that. I mean, for me, I think it was realizing early on as I kept maturing that people invested time in me and really helped me believe in myself. And that started with my mentor in college, Javier Francisco, who was, read my story about being a Bachero and believed enough in me to give me an opportunity to go to college when I didn't have maybe the credentials to get to Georgia College. And that was kind of the same thing for Mauer. I didn't meet all the requirements that, the SAT scores, but they saw more than that in me. And that I've never taken for granted, right? So I believe that people invested time in me and gave me the opportunity, and I need to do the same, because you can't really get anywhere in life by yourself. And if we're in a position that we can give back to the community, we should. And I encourage you to do that. And it starts now. You know, I started getting that passion in undergrad, and started really believing in myself and realizing that I have leadership skills that I didn't know I had, and just continue to get involved. And now what I'm really passionate about, and kind of tying it back to that, I didn't have a job going back to Georgia, and I wanted to seek out like-minded individuals. So I joined the Georgia Hispanic Bar Association and immediately got involved as vice president. They needed leadership, and they were looking for people, and they didn't know me, but I was like, hey, I'm back in Georgia. I grew up here, willing to help. And I built friendships from that are amazing, lifelong friendships. And we constantly look out for each other. So by giving back, it does pay dividends, because you don't know what will come from that. But people notice, and they realize that you're giving back, and they appreciate that. And what you were saying, a company that values that, my company, I made it known to them that, hey, community work is important to me. I'm currently president of the Echelon chapter in Atlanta, the Salvation Army Young Professional Group. I'm actually coming from a national board meeting from New Jersey. I was there this week, and I let them know that this is important to me, and they value that, and they've given me time to go do things like that. They've partnered with our local Salvation Army chapter to do community work, so you can make a difference, not only you personally, but you can hold your companies accountable and let them know that, look, you should be doing this for the community as well. So when you get in positions of leadership like that, make sure that you use your power to do good. So.
Thank you. So we're going to move to talking about networking and your career path. So Javier, we're going to have you go first.
Okay.
How did you find your practice? And when did you know that it was a path that you wanted to pursue? And related to that, how has networking played a role in your career path? And in other words, how have you used networking to advance that path?
Yeah.
Keep walking further down it. And if you can give a couple of sort of concrete examples, or even just one concrete example of how networking made a difference to you. We're all first generation students,
right?
And I don't know about you, but I know that for me, when I was a first semester law student, that word networking, I didn't even know what it meant.
Right.
And to the extent that I knew what it meant, it was really scary, because it felt like something that other people must know how to do, because at least they knew what it meant. And so I'd be really interested in hearing a bit about that as well. Yeah.
So I'm a sociable guy. I love meeting people and making friendships and networking. That kind of came natural to me, but I didn't really consider it networking. I just did it. And it really started here at law school. And I'll give you a piece of advice that I think I could have done better in that area. But just with your classmates, your networking here professionally starts here in Maurer. You don't know what any of your classmates are going to end up doing after this and how they can help you. I know that some of my classmates that have come back, we constantly stay in touch with each other about opportunities. Or when I'm thinking of making, I've made 3 moves already in my career. And whenever I'm thinking of making a move to a new area, I lean on them heavily to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What experience do you have here? I've been contacted by a recruiter for this role. What do you think? Is this something that you think I should pursue, or give me your feedback? And I do that constantly. I think it's important to have that support system, and it begins with that networking, finding groups of people that you can really be vulnerable with, right? That's an important trait, though, to network, is that it needs to be authentic, right? It can't just be fake. You can't just do it because you want to get a job out of it, because people will be able to tell right away that you're not being your authentic self. So make sure that you're vulnerable. Let them know, look, this is who I am. Ask alumni out for coffee, especially here in the Indiana area. I did not do that enough. I knew that I wanted to go back to Atlanta, but I waited until my 3L year to start reaching out to alumni in the Atlanta area. And I'll say that once I did, I made a great friend, had, kind of no intention really how he could help me, but he's a Maurer alum, Keo. He's a partner at a big law firm in Atlanta. And that friendship just developed, and I was at his wedding. So when I say alumni are willing to help you, make the effort. And if you do it early on, you know, you won't know what will come from it, but just take it as a friendship. Don't go to them expecting a job or anything like that, because that may turn them off and maybe hurt your chances of developing an organic relationship. So.
Good day, everyone. I was so captivated by what you said, I kind of lost my train of thought. But I know for me, one thing that stood out was when I graduated from Mauer and I went into the workforce as a prosecutor, I would have judges tell me that they can see the distinction between me and other people by going to this law school. And when someone takes you aside and says that to you, you know that you are different than everybody else in your own way. And so just saying Mauer, IU Law School, it made a difference there when people would tell me those things. Number two, I was fortunate when I got my opportunity at State Farm that I had taken trial process with Judge Kellum. And unfortunately, I know that he recently passed. But I actually had a copy of the tape when we had our final trial. And so when I interviewed at State Farm, I actually gave a copy of that to the managing attorney. And he said he had never had someone who was a recent college graduate like provide that to kind of give an idea of what you can do. And so I wouldn't have not had the opportunity had I not had it here. And he said that made a great difference in the hiring process in terms of me getting the opportunity, because I would be a trial lawyer. They could see what I could do, at least in a classroom.
It's very smart of you to do that.
It was a risk too.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hey, you're out of the job. So I know those things do make a difference. When it comes to network, I'm very active in our bar associations as a whole. But when you're active in your bar, people have connects and they have different opportunities that will avail themselves. Yeah. So I know even being on the Supreme Court's Continuing Legal Education Commission for 10 years, I would not have had that opportunity without one of my colleagues, Michael Tolber. He ended up being president of the Indiana State Bar Association. And I was fortunate, he asked me to be his counsel. I was the first African-American counsel of the state bar. When you have those kind of contacts with people and you do good work in the community and you do good work in your profession, people do notice that, and it does open up opportunities. The other thing I want to say is I was playing in a tennis tournament back in 2004. It was an African-American tennis tournament in Indianapolis. I was just out there just going out to hit. And people would tell me when I would play tennis, they did not know I was a lawyer, because that's not something I used to go around saying as a whole. I'm trying to win the match, you know, at the end of the day. But at one point there was a gentleman, Daryl Whitley, a very good friend of mine. I asked him, how does someone become an attorney at State Farm? And he told me he didn't know, but he would get back to me. When he got back to me, there was an opportunity that opened up in Crown Point, Indiana, which of course is in Northwest Indiana. And right when he gave me that information, he connected me with someone who had worked in that office before. And so she gave me some inside scoops and things that I needed to know when I would interview and go through the process. And of course, I sent my credentials in, I sent my transcript and those things from the law school, and it really opened up that opportunity. But every opportunity I've gotten as a whole has been from someone talking to me about it and leading me in that direction.
And I'll add to that. I'll say that, you know, the legal community is small. You think it's big, but it's not. And people talk. So, you know, when you interact with people in these organizations, you take leadership roles on, they know what work you're doing, and that transitions to any other job, right? So if they know that you're doing good work as, you know, president or vice president or secretary of this organization, that's going to reflect on them. And when they see a position come up, they may encourage you to, hey, you should apply here, or speak to someone that they know that, hey, I think this person's a good fit for this position. And it doesn't have to come from you applying, right? It's just that I gave back to the community, and through networking, the opportunity came. So.
Yeah, that good point. It's just so true. 5 years from now, we're all going to be saying the same thing. It's those friendships that we make.
Yeah, and this is coming from a person that was not like top 10 in the class. Like I went through my struggles. Like it's, you know, didn't get A's in every class. Like it's okay. That's
who gets A's in every
exactly.
class?
Exactly. They're out there, but it's okay. We love you too. Like, but what I say is, like, you don't have to feel like that pressure that, like, if I don't get an A, I'm not going to be successful. No, it's what you do in the community. It's what you do with other, you know, the attorneys, the relationship that you build. That's really how you're going to prosper in your career. At least that's been my personal experience.
Often said it's who you know, but who you know only matters if they trust you and if they believe in your integrity. And so it's the combination of those two things: who you know and who gets to know you and your integrity. Such great points. You're both really excellent points. So I want to ask you both about about how your various identities. You've spoken about your time with Balsa. You've talked about your affiliations with the Hispanic Bar Association in Georgia. You've talked about your time in Gary. That you identify with. That is really an important part of who you are, and you're going back to Northwest Indiana, and Javier, you also went back to Georgia, and that was really important to you. So you can sort of see in your comments these various identities that you bring to the table, and so I would love to hear both of you talk a bit about your identities as Black, as Latino, as lawyers, as members of your communities, and how you have seen those identities interact with the legal profession, and how it is both how the legal profession has been up to you because of those identities, and also how there has been friction for you because of those identities. Both of those would be really, really interesting, I'm sure, for our students.
You know, it's a very good question, and of course, we play different roles in different areas of our life. I know, for me, I don't always like being the first, although it sounds good. I know that former Justice Myra Selby talks about there should be a time we no longer have to say first.
Yeah.
When I worked at State Farm, I was the first African-American man to work in that office. And I think in the entire state, between our office up north and the office in Indianapolis, I don't know if they had hired an African-American. But that's sad that we live in this period of time where there's no one who looks like me who works in that office or identified as a Black male, you know, as a whole. But I will say, when it comes down to it, when you are educated, when you are a professional, when you make a commitment to doing the best you can, people do recognize that, and a lot of opportunities will avail themselves to you. If someone is not treating you right, and it does happen, a lot of times there's someone who just doesn't know you or doesn't know, you know, who your family is and what you come from. The thing that sometimes bothers me the most is once someone knows who you are, then they treat you differently. That does not go over well with me. Like, you don't want to speak to me, then you find out who I am. Now you want to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not genuine, that can really, cause problems. I think, as a whole, you want people to be genuine and essentially just try to do a great job. Because once we're in the profession, most of us really want to do well. It's a helping profession, and we want to do the best we can to help make a difference.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Being the first can be scary, and also we shouldn't be in a society like that any longer. But yeah, so my background is I'm a Cuban refugee. My family and I escaped Cuba in '94, and we were rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy, and we lived in Guantanamo for about 6 to 8 months before we were granted asylum. So I grew up an immigrant in poverty for most of my childhood, a little bit, and those struggles and those experiences really shaped my life and what I wanted to do. I knew that my parents sacrificed their life as well for us, and that, my mom really early on and father pushed education on me. And I saw that through, going through school and just people telling me like, hey, this is a way out of your situation, right? That pushed me to kind of continue bettering myself, and eventually led me to this profession. So I relate a lot to migrants. So that's why I was involved with the Pro Bono Immigration Project here, and why I gave back a lot to the Latino community, especially, when I was involved with my fraternity. I established the chapter in my undergrad, and I wanted to continue mentoring young Latino males. We are a very low represented group in higher education. And I felt that it was my duty to give back and help them in any way that I could. So I took a national position. I was director of national expansion for about 5 years. And I really valued that role because I got to interact one-on-one with everyday college students, Latino males who were going through the struggles and could see me as a role model. I think it's important to see someone that you can relate to in a position that you want to get to one day. And when you see someone like that, you should seek them out and ask for their advice and just soak in everything that they can share with you, because it's definitely motivational and powerful. And I try to be that individual now for others and let them know that, hey, look, I came here with nothing and I've gotten to this. You can also do the same. And professionally, I've had to deal with situations like that where, I've been the first in the room, or I feel like, I'm representing Latinos for like all around the world. And if you know anything about Latinos, we're very different. Everyone has a unique trait and diversity to them in itself. So that could be tough. So, but it's also letting them know like, hey, my voice is important. I want it to be heard, and I need to have things and resources available to me for people like me as well. So recently my company launched a Somos network, which is like an affinity group within the company, the first Latino one. So I'm going to do my part and take on a leadership role in that, because I want to help it and make sure it succeeds. So
Yeah, so many words of wisdom on both of your comments there, that it's being first, and it's its own thing. So when you can't find somebody there ahead of you who's already done it, it's also should not stop you from stepping in. You need to step in so you can be the first. You can be that person for somebody coming after you, right? So we're getting close to the end of our time, unfortunately. So I'm going to take the last two questions and wrap them together. I have two questions left, and I am going to put them together. The first one was about work-life balance, because you both are doing it all. And
I don't know if I'm doing it right now.
The week we've had, work-life balance is tricky. And so I was going to ask you about how you manage to keep work from swallowing up your identity, and also how you keep yourselves mentally sane and physically healthy. But the last question of the day was actually going to just ask you to give our amazing students your advice. And so it feels like we can put those two things together in a really nice way. So let's start with you.
Yeah, I could start.
You go.
So work-life balance has been very difficult for me lately, because I started my MBA program at Emory, part-time evenings. So that is a new struggle in itself for me. Going to class after work, and then doing everything else I'm doing, it's pretty challenging, but I'm finding a way. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of group projects that I'm remembering all about. No, honestly, it's finding what you're passionate about and understanding that I'm willing to sacrifice my time to do those things. Because it's part of me, it makes me feel good that I can help others. And that brings me joy, and also I'm in-house counsel. It's a lot easier life for me than some of my other friends that are living the big law firm life. I check out, when I have to go to class, I leave at 4, and my job understands that, and they value that. And it's setting boundaries, right? Like, I have 2 small daughters, and that's important to me now, and they value that, and they let me go home at 3:30 when I need to, and work from home later that night, right? So it's if you don't speak up and let people know what what your expectations are as well, you're not gonna know what they say. So I'll say this for advice for you, for one else and future attorneys. Network. If you don't want to be in Indiana, I did not want to be in Indiana after I graduated. Start contacting alumni in that area and building relationships. Again, don't approach it in a way that it's to seek a job, because it's not going to feel authentic, and it's going to really hurt you, and you're not going to really know what comes from that friendship, right? When I reached out to Keo, I didn't know what was going to happen from that, but I developed a long life friendship, right, with him, and he mentors me constantly. When I seek advice from him, I know it's authentic, and he values my opinion as much as I value his. That'd be it. Yeah.
There's no such thing as work-life balance.
Yeah.
To me, it's work-life management. How do you manage it?
Yeah.
Because to me, it's never where it's supposed to be as a whole. So for me, I think I've been fortunate. I was in-house counsel for 9 years, and then I teach, so I have some flexibility with the university. But I think it's about working for an employer, or if you work for yourself, that you can give yourself the type of flexibility and things that you need, because I think that's the best fit as a whole, because you still want to do your job and you want to do it very well. And then you want to be able to give back and do the best you can as a whole. So it's not easy at all. But I think for me, I just have great people around me. It's my team. It's my mother. And if she's on Zoom, I love you. If it's my dad, I love you too. My family as a whole, because this is not a one-man show by any stretch. I have
Yes.
brothers, I have sisters, I have the church, I have the Boys and Girls Club. It really takes a village and a great people around you for me and for things to work out the way they should. I think the other part of it is communication. You have to tell people what is going on as a whole and to have them give you the support and things that you need. I just know today, just because of the way the week has been, there was a judge that was sending a message to me and I hadn't responded. And I just sent him a personal text, say, hey, my dad just passed. This is why I hadn't gotten back to you. It was only 24 hours, but I just felt bad because I can't text and drive. You shouldn't do that, right? I didn't want to do that. So, just trying to communicate and let people know what's going on, let them know what you need. And knowing I do not do this as a whole, knowing when to say no. That's to me the biggest thing that I would tell a young person or as a whole, know when to say no and know what your priorities are and stay as close to those as you can. But then realize too, you have to give yourself some type of leeway and you have to look out for you. If you can't look out for you and put yourself first as a priority as a whole, then how can anybody else, do that?
Such great advice, such great advice. I second so much of what you have to say. Work-life balance is it's management, and it's something also that comes over time. You think that it's going to come in any given day, especially when your first semester went out. It's probably not, but it's going to come over time. Yeah. And there are times when it is really an investment period, and you are in all the way over your head. And then there are times when it is more, as my kids would say, chill. And and that's really nice, right? It's really nice to get to have moments where you're investing and moments where you're it's a little easier to handle.
Can I say one thing, Dina?
Yeah,
I think it's really important. We think of ourselves as a bank account, and we got emotional bank accounts, and you can't just let people withdraw. You got to make sure that there's some deposits that are coming in. And if there's something that you really enjoy, even when you're in law school, take time to do those things as well. It's not all about work. It's not all about play items, but you just try to do what you can to just make sure that you stay true to yourself at the end of the day.
Oh, what a great place to end.
I second that.
Thank you both so much. Thing is amazing. Javier and Chantry are incredible alums, and we're so grateful to you. And boy, if we could bring all of our alums who have similar amazing stories and give so much to their communities, you would just be impressed. I often feel like these awards they're really important because they recognize your incredible service. They're also symbolic of the world of alums that we have. It is just so impressive. So thank you again so much.